internet people, and other people. I don't. I always like to start off with a little slight story as to what brought me to this simple line, to the title of this video. But I forgot. I just know that I was thinking about it yesterday. And one thing that people need to realize is that, first of all, this is a good thing. But let me find somewhere to start, because I'm a little bit all over the place. So whenever you go to read some things that may be business related or things of the sort, or you want to start a website, whatever that may be, and people will tell you, you got to niche down. You know what I'm saying? You got to know your audience, pick your audience, and things of that nature. And then you say, well, I mean, everybody, whoever wants it. And in theory, this sounds like it's a decent concept. I mean, it's the approach that I take um with YouTube, but YouTube promotes my content to a certain demographic anyway. All right, they promote people my age, and within that group, up to 34 or something like that, and that's the most of my viewers. And so, that kind of is my niche of sorts. But even still, and I'll probably be more successful if I did niche down, but I just don't. You know what I'm saying? You are able to not niche down, and so be it. But here's the reason why I bring this up, is because there's a lot of pressure, obviously, being put on people to try to fit in a certain mode. And if you don't, you just kind of get ostracized. You don't feel like you won't get any attention. You don't even feel like, I mean, it's true. You probably won't get much attention. You feel like an outsider, or you feel like you're missing out. You feel like you're missing out on something. Is because you don't really have something internally that drives you. You don't have something that you can really hold on to. So you're just constantly being an onlooker, which is the case for a lot of us. And I really take for granted how much of a blessing it is to not really want to be a part of every single thing they put in front of you, because if it's being constantly pushed, if it's being pushed among the masses, throughout the media, all of these things, there is a reason, and you can always follow it, the trails, the breadcrumbs, and is likely some dollar signs involved. So the pressure of a man spending 2 months of his salary on a ring, that's not something that we just think of internally. It's not something that's just natural. There was a very pivotal commercial that came out. I don't remember 50s. I don't remember, like I was there. But I don't know if it was in the 50s or 60s or whatever, where it was promoted. You get this lady a nice diamond ring, 2 months of your salary. And so we have internalized that. So we think, oh, it's either we go big, or go for broke, or nothing. And so when you start to internalize in certain aspects that you don't have to play their game, then it takes shape in other aspects. So like yesterday when I was talking about, if you lose your romantic viewpoints towards like relationships and things like that, then you can do it in other things, as far as being overly optimistic, whatever. And then, by the way, there clearly is a downside to that, even though that's kind of how I go about things. I'm not very romantic. Kind of a stoic. I don't know. I have a weird combination. I'm kind of a stoic, but still get very emotional and things like that. I don't know. It's weird. I don't really have an identity. People try to go for your identity. But anyway, I mean, people try to go for identities and labels and things like that. They try to stick with that. They try to build a life around that, and which is kind of, as I speak out against that, is kind of contradicting the point that I'm trying to make, where everything is not for you. But But if you ever do talk about, or you ever do consider like niching down, or try to consider what is for you, the best thing is to figure out what is not for you. Process of elimination. Hey, I learned that in public school. Process of elimination. So if you know what it's not, then you maybe can figure out what it is. So that's good. So if you say, okay, I don't like to go out, I don't like to drink, don't like to smoke, I don't like people who do this. Uh, I don't like a 9 to 5. You start writing all these things that you don't like, then it really does narrow down the list. You know, some people say focus on what you do like, and I think that is more important to focus on what you don't like. That way you can just get that out of the way, and what you're left with is a pool of the things that you may like or you may be interested in. You kind of you move some things out of the way, you see things you didn't know that were there in the first place. Like when I just went in my uh the trunk of my car, I was looking for one thing, so I started moving a bunch of things out of the way, and then I found a Kindle. I was just about to buy a new one. I didn't even know I had this thing. Load that thing up. So yeah. And by the way, I just got a Kindle Unlimited. I'm kind of embarrassed that I haven't already been kind of indulging. It's a really good investment. You know what I'm saying? All these quality books. I mean, it's kind of like going to the library now. But anyway, that's a different conversation. In fact, so today in my journal, I'm going to write down all the things that I don't like, that I don't want out of life. I spend a lot of time focusing on, well, what do I want? What do I want out of this? What do I want out of this? But I want to kind of reverse engineer this thing. I want to have a different driving force today. And sometimes life just calls for a different approach. In fact, many times, not just sometimes, but many times, does life call for a different approach. All right. So today, because that's the thing, and I'm actually putting together something right now on the spot. It's because when things are going good for me, and then I start to get real comfortable, then then I just lose all desire for life. I mean, and not having too much desire. I guess that's good in some regards, but I don't want to lose my fire. I don't want to lose ambition. It's good to let go of some things and just to exist, to just be. But one thing I want to do now is that when things go good, I just want to make sure that I take inventory as to what I don't want to happen when I start getting a little easy on myself, when I start loosening up a little bit. So, for example, when you start celebrating whatever may happen, whatever accomplishment it may be, I just want to make sure that the celebration doesn't go on too long. I want to get back to working out, like when you win a champion, like when people or teams win the championship. You want to obviously you want to acknowledge your accomplishments, but then you want to get back to what helped you get there. All right, so for me personally, some of the things that I don't want is that I don't want to let life slip away. But it's life is a fleeting thing. And so when I write down things like that, it's not just a bunch of bullets of what I don't want out of life and what I don't like. It's just kind of it's to open up the gates of will open up the conversation of, okay, so what do I put in place so that this does not happen? All right, so if I don't want to let life slip away, meaning I don't want too much time to go by without me feeling fulfilled, without me doing some of the things that matter to me, then I need to figure out exactly what does matter to me. So I need to write that down. I need to make sure that I acknowledge these things. I have bad memory. I don't want to let these things slip away. So it may be spending time with your kids, or in my case that is true, or my child. And it may be, well, I'm saying it may be. I'll just tell you what it is. And so that would mean I would have to do more creating in whatever field that may be, more exercising, more journaling, more brainstorming, more meditating, uh, better eating habits, whatever that may be. I Again, I have to go to the journal to figure out what it may be now. And also, when you internalize that everything isn't for you, then you don't try to force things, which is, I mean, that's very important. You don't try to force things. Now you stick to your guns. You stick to what, uh, what lights you up, what turns you on. All right, because maybe this isn't the case for you, but there are a lot of people, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I can't stress this enough. There are a lot of people who don't really have that answer as to what rings their bell. So they go looking out there to see what everybody else is, kind of a group think. They see what everybody else is flocking to. But one thing that you don't realize is that everybody else is flocking to these things just like you may be, or just like you're going to, because they don't have a thing. They go looking for others to lead them. All right. In many events. All right. Maybe it's just a programming of sorts. You get so used to society thinking for you, and then that's all you crave. That's all you go after. Now, it isn't until you reach a certain level of being fed up with society that you start going for your own thing. But it's very good to know what you don't like and what just was not for you. All right. And that's the thing. When you talk about, when you consider what's not for you, what you don't want, what you don't like, you will feel a lot of pressure from people who have conceded, who have decided that this is what they're going to do. Why aren't you doing it? This is good enough for them. Why isn't it good enough for you? You know what I'm saying? They'll literally put pressure on you. Meanwhile, they're not happy. You say, well, it's not all about happiness. You got to do what you got to do. Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, when you get the bill for the choices that you made, and the choices that you made, and you got to get these consequences for these actions that you took. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody else, like I said yesterday, nobody else has to pay for that. Nobody else receives that. They only receive, kind of the effects based on their causes. The things that they chose to engage in. So with that being said, you got to figure out what risks are uh, worth taking in your opinion. All right, and what outcomes do you want? And that's all that should ever matter. It's really that simple. That's all that should ever matter. All right. You see everybody go spending 9.99 for Netflix and something like that, and that's cool. I mean, I'm funding Netflix right now, but you could very easily just go ahead and take that money, 9.99, and get Kindle Unlimited. Now, look, man, I'm doing some promoting here. I think maybe I need to put in some affiliate links or something, but I'll leave it alone. Mainly because I'm just really tired. But also, I really like the concept of you get Kindle Unlimited, then you have the option of uh, hearing the words. Uh, I'm tired. Hearing the words as you read them, and you can up the speed or force you to read faster and all that. I just have to say that. All right, it's not along the lines of it. What everything is not for you. But I don't know. That's just I really my lifestyle is built on basically, okay, I don't like this, so fuck it. All right. I don't like what people be talking about on Facebook, all this basic shit. All right. Well, then I won't spend too much time engaging. Eventually, it may turn to me just not being on Facebook at all because I really like the concept of controlling what I see. Oh, $2. Thank you. I really appreciate that. and I really appreciate your love for my channel. Anybody who says they love my channel, it really means. I mean, I don't know how much content you consume, but it means that you kind of love me in a sense because I really, I mean, this is me. All right, nothing is scripted. I'm live right now, and I'm kind of shooting from the hip. I may reveal some terrible things about myself. All right, or maybe this is about as bad as it gets. Is that I reject certain things, and so I don't want to give it life. Yes, there are some things that I do reject, that I do constantly speak out against. I feel like I have to. All right, so other people can internalize that, and also it's just some things that we just can't let die down. So if I want to keep talking about human trafficking, it's not because that turns me on. It really does not. It really upsets me. Okay, then I'm just going to do that then. It's very important to me, especially because sometimes I just feel like I'm in a twilight zone where people make a big deal out of certain things. Where I'm like, buddy, okay, like, okay, so what? It's yes, it is hot. Yes, it's hot outside. Yes, because that's how summer goes. It does get hot. You know what I'm saying? Or people make a big deal out of that. People make a big deal. Oh man, Target never has anything. I mean, okay, they didn't have what you were looking for. Okay, oh, big deal. Yeah, order it online. Go on, wait a few days or whatever. I don't know. That's just where my mind goes. I mean, find bigger things to be upset about. Everything isn't worth being upset about. You know what I'm saying? All right, I'm gonna have a drink of water. A hospital cup. I took home things from the hospital like it's a souvenir. I like to remind myself of where I've been. I don't know. Sometimes I like to. Ugh. But that's the thing, though. You buy into a system that clearly isn't for you, and it's the reason why the masses they get called sheep and things like that. And I mean, of course, I'm not big on the whole name calling thing, really, but you follow the group and you let the group think for you based on what they picked up from society, and then you guess what? You're left with the slaughter. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the song my daughter be singing, and it isn't until I heard her sing it enough that I really broke it down. Bob, Bob, black sheep, have you any wool? And here you have a sheep singing, yes, I got bags of wool that came from me. You know what I'm saying? Yes, of course I got some wool for you. Um, how do I feel about Elon Musk Neuralink? I don't know. I don't feel any type of way. I don't trust. Let me just say, I don't trust Elon Musk at all. I really don't. It's not because he's a billionaire. At one point, I thought that he was a very, I was kind of fond of him, but now I don't really trust him. Don't ask why. I just don't. All right. Uh, because there were certain things that I did respect when I first started hearing about him. And also, by the way, just because I don't like somebody doesn't mean that I don't think you can eat the meat and spit out the bones. I thought it was pretty cool how he could work so much throughout the week, even though it's not really all that sustainable as you start to get older. Even he admitted that. I liked how you could. I liked how risky he was to make hundreds of millions of dollars from PayPal and um, not be content enough. You just want to risk it all for something bigger. Those concepts, no matter what he may be engaging in behind the scenes, those concepts you can actually take into your own personal life. How do I know that? Because I tried that. I tried that in a way where I actually wouldn't recommend. Is that like I like to engage in fantasy sports, the daily fantasy sports. And when I got on a once I acquired enough money through unemployment, I took some of my unemployment money. I took like $1,000 basically. I put that in daily fantasy sports, and I mean I won, and this was like within the past 3 weeks, past 2 or 3 weeks, and I came up about maybe $18,000, $20,000, something like that. I lost about 6,000 of it, but I'm up. I'm up, and the rest of the money I sent away. So whatever. I definitely favor taking a kind of a risky lifestyle, which kind of brings me to not too risky. I'm not telling you to go to a casino bet it on red. You know what I'm saying? Just risky enough. And reason why I say this is because, as a lot of people found out this year alone, is that something that was considered to be safe, people have found to be actually kind of risky. And people were saying that prior to this year, on kind of in the minority saying these things. But and I agree, because I've heard the stories of people who, you work 20 years, then you get paid for the rest of your life, and then on year 19 you get fired, no retirement. That, unfortunately, that does happen. You don't hear about it a lot in the news, but it does happen very frequently. um I'm just kind of weird enough to actually look that stuff up. I actually want to do some reading on that to just make sure that it's just not just a concept in my mind. I just like to check in with things that I think I know. That's how I like to go about it. But you couple the fact that, taking a job isn't all that secure, really, with the fact that a lot of people just don't like working for other people. You don't like people controlling how much you get paid and things like that. Then that leads you to lifestyle that may be more favorable for you. All right. So of course you'd ask anybody, if uh, mostly anybody, close to 100% of people, uh, you ask them, would they prefer to make their own schedule, make their own hours, their own money outside of working a 9 to 5? They say yes. So obviously in theory, that's what we want. In practice, it takes a lot of practice. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of planning, strategy, all of these things. But you clearly know that the other path, although laid out for you, it's not for you. Then that kind of leads you to, okay, well, how are we going to figure out how to make this work? Which is where I'm at right now, because there are a lot of other things that aren't for me, that ties into, me not really wanting to work for other people. So it may be, if I don't want my child to go to a public school, and I want her to be homeschooled, maybe all of that falls on me. Maybe I have to be the one who facilitates this homeschool thing. I don't know. Possibly, or make enough money to where her mom doesn't have to go to work, then she can take care of that. So, and it just takes many aspects, because as I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about how we had certain plans for our daughter's birth. We didn't want her to be born in the hospital. She was born in the hospital because of preeclampsia. But we wanted an alternative to that. So we were a doula, a birthing center type thing, maybe even a tub, a I don't know, a bath birth. I don't know I can't even think about what you call it right now, but things of that nature. And that's okay. And that's the benefit of expanding your horizons mentally. As far as educating yourself, seeking as much information as possible, and then you open yourself up to kind of the limitless possibilities that this world has to offer. Don't go looking for society because it wants to. Don't go looking to society for the answers, because it's very limited in comparison. Yeah, it's going to require you to do some extra, or activate some extra thinking power, to do this work, and I mean, and it's going to require work. It will be work, but it's, in my opinion, and I value my opinion more than I value anybody else's. It's worth it. Okay, it's worth it to not have to concede to what's been laid out before you by mortals and by people who wanted to capitalize on you tricking yourself into believing that you could possibly be a nut and bolt in a system that was just really using you as a placeholder until they can get um some automation. Tell me I'm wrong. Because what happens? The moment they get the automation, by people. I mean that's what it is. Humans do this until the AI can take over. So you always want to be ahead of the curve. I mean, I don't want to know what 30 years from now is going to look like when a lot of people will, hopefully, a lot of people find their way where they don't have to compete with robots, but that's going to be the case for the foreseeable future. Really, at one point the assembly line was I hand something to you, you hand something to the next person, so on and so forth. Then and maybe some steps in between, but then it became I hand I put something on the belt, it goes down. Then you put something on that thing that was on the belt, so forth. And I used to work on an assembly line that was like that. Um, and then it became and it will become this machine thing drops it down, then the next machine puts it on. That's just where we are in life. All right. So a lot of people who work in like the car manufacturers, they do have legs to stand on right now, but they are very shaky legs right now, and they may have some leverage now, but it's dying leverage. All right, it's only a matter of time before machines craft these cars perfectly. For all I know, that may be happening right now. I don't know. Behind the scenes, I'm sure it is. It's just not as perfect. Okay, I mean, you probably always need somebody to oversee it just to make sure that you aren't putting out junk. But for all intents and purposes, this is where we're going. You save money this way. You don't have to worry about anybody calling out. You know how it goes. And so, with that being said, if it ain't for you, it ain't for you. Don't try to make it for you. All right. There's something for everybody. You got to find out what your thing is, even if it means you have to do the process of elimination. All right. And so, with that being said, y'all have a good one. Peace. Space.